America number one problem, drugs. Zombies in the streets. It's a war zone. It's worse than a war. As a woman that lives in war, they have it worse, much worse. I mean, this is insane. He wants to stop the drugs. I'm not saying it's not important, but this is above the oil. Okay, it's really small money, and he wants to stop the drugs. And win, win, win. It's a rehearsal, like the general rehearsal before Iran. So everybody was like trying out the capture stuff. It was a intimidation, but also it was a rehearsal for the forces. Okay, so I think it's all moving in the same direction. It's another signal to IRGC to know that they have nowhere to run. They knew it, but now they really know it. Okay, it's just bringing up the flames as well. And about pollution, if you want to talk ecology, I will love it. I have a master. The first thing that is the most polluted thing in the world, you can calculate it and count, pollution. It's very hard. There is a few methods. Okay, so a lot of people can be right in the same time. For me, as a scientist, the most polluted thing is the drug manufacturer. Drugs in the illegal part and also drugs that are illegals, because they take 100% of material, but the product is only 15% to 10%, sometimes 8%. The rest is garbage. So we can count a lot of stuff, but I think this is a big thing. And also for the environment, the drug cartel ruined the environment more than anyone. They don't track any regulation at all. So that's my checker
Okay.
on this.
I didn't actually consider that. Let me add Joseph to the list. Okay. And
Armin is now,
Montez.
then Andrew, then Joseph.
It's me now, right?
Yeah, then Andrew, then
Yeah.
Joseph.
Okay. So 2 points. First of all, I think like a lot of the views on Venezuela right now, this is a good thing to do or not thing to do. Like I think a lot of people are only looking at it from an American centric point of view, but they don't realize that there are a lot of Iranians and Israelis and many other people around the world that are celebrating Trump doing this to Maduro. Like they are, you don't, a lot of people are just looking at Maduro bringing, is he bringing drugs to America? Is he not bringing drugs to America? They don't take into account like all the fucking shit that Maduro was responsible for everywhere else in the world. Like Maduro supported Hezbollah. Like every Israeli should be celebrating the removal of Maduro right now, right? Maduro supports IRGC. The Iranian people are cheering on Trump right now. They can't believe it. They woke up and they're like, "What the hell? Can he do that?" Like this was it took 3 hours. Like, by the way, this is such a powerful demonstration of American strength to the rest of the world. Like the whole world is shocked. This is kind of like what Israel did the 12-day war. This is honestly, guys, this is even more impressive. A 3 hour removal of a global leader. Like all the terrorists around the world, they're shitting their pants right now. They're like, what the fuck? Like they're scared that they're next. So just like when you're judging whether this was a good thing or wrong, just like try to expand your view globally rather than just looking at what happens to America, right? So that's one point. And two, when regards to all of these policies, including pollution and climate change and all of that, I think a lot of people are missing what the priority is, and especially people who don't like Trump. Okay, right now we are in the middle of a battle for the future of the planet, right? And there are worldviews different worldviews that are based on who wins the current state that we're in. We could be going to completely different directions, right? So we have the Western model, and then we have China, and then we have Russia, and we have the communists, and then we have the Islamists, right? You wouldn't be thinking about in the environment if China dominates the world, or if Russia dominates the world, or if the Islamists dominate the world, or if communists dominate the world. So you have to, we have to, like, anybody who hates Trump, between Trump and China, you should be on Trump's side. Because even if you don't like Trump, you would hate a world where when China is actually defeating America. You should be on Trump's side, even if you hate him, given that the alternative is the Chinese model or the Islamist model or the Russian model, right? So I think we need to get our priorities like in order, because if China dominates the global order, I bet you they don't give a shit about the environment. They will pollute even more. All of this EV and solar panel, this is about domination. This is not about saving the environment. They would care less about the environment than Trump ever would. So I think we need to get our priorities in order.
Yes,
All right,
100%.
Andrew, and then
Oh, thank you.
Joseph.
Thank you. Joseph, you mentioned that Putin was interested in the Black Sea shipping ports that Ukraine controlled. I agree with you. I just want to remind everybody that in the early 90s, Ukraine promised to give up its nuclear weapons in exchange for security guarantees that were approved and agreed by the United States, Russia, and other countries. So the invasion of the Crimea under, I guess that was under Obama's watch, that was illegal. But again, we're talking about ends and means. Gila, I wanted to, your comments about drugs were very interesting to me. I'm not exactly sure I understand what you mean when you said that drugs are responsible for most of the climate change. I don't know if I heard you properly, but I'd like to hear more about that. I want to mention though that with respect to the U.S. experience about drugs, I'd like to remind everybody that about a month ago, Trump pardoned the leader of Honduras. He pardoned and released him, and he was a definite narco-terrorism terrorist. I mean, Honduras was providing drugs to the United States. Consequently, I don't understand why I don't see it as being consistent that Maduro is a narco terrorist. However, Honduras, the Honduran president, was released and pardoned. He created as many deaths as Venezuela, likely.
I can take the
Where's the
first part.
consistency? That's it.
My English is not that good, and it's hard for me to explain in Hebrew. But we are in the boiling global time. We reach that point of or no return. So now we need to think different, and most of the stuff people want me to, example, teach now in school. I don't want to teach it. It's not relevant. They want me to teach them about warming globe, like we just that's different. I only teach kids what they will have to face in 20 years. Okay? So it's the same for politics and governments. And it's a lot to explain, but about the drugs, I can tell you, pharmaceutical, drugs, chemicals, award, these chemicals. I mean, any industry, usually you will take 100% of some product, plastic, wood, and you will make it 100%, 90% product, that you can sell. And then you have like 10% that is garbage and you have to think who to sell it to. With chemicals, it doesn't work like that. So when you do pharmaceuticals, you're using a lot of chemicals to make a small product. And usually by the time it's in the market, most people throw it away and don't even use it till the end. But the 90-something% that got left in the factory, it's a huge problem.
Okay. Hila, last point because we have people on the line. So Samantha, I think right now it's Joseph,
Joseph,
me, Musad, and
Musad.
Zach. Okay. So Joseph.
Joseph.
Yeah, I'm going back to the thing about climate. I'm going to just go on to the drug war because I come from the political background of if we just legalized the illegal narcotics, a lot of the problems everybody is facing, regardless of what country you're in, would go away. We saw that Prohibition has never once worked. United States, we outlawed alcohol. What did we get? We got the rise of the various mafias across that infiltrated not just our police forces, but our government itself. And we're seeing the exact same thing, just on a much larger scale, with the quote unquote drug war on drugs. Joke that the drug cartels finance candidates who are willing to keep drugs illegal. Why? Because as long as they're illegal, they make insane profits from it. And we're not talking, some people say, well, it's not that much. And I go, hey, look, we just droned out a drug running boat. These aren't small amounts. And personally, I would love to see the cartels have to deal with companies like Lilly, Johnson & Johnson, AstraZeneca at all, because they're not going to be able to compete in an open market. But as long as they remain illegal, these insane profits are going to continue on. I know some people, well, don't you care about people getting addicted? I go, people are going to get addicted whether they choose to or not. Now, for me, I'm coming at this from a very specific point is I'm 30 years clean. And this is a guy who was addicted to, mine weren't exactly illegal because I was actually on the prescription drug side because I was an amphetamine freak. And I want them legalized because it will actually reduce the number of addicts because we can put the money to places to help them out. There's just way too many problems with keeping them illegal. And the reason why a lot of addicts don't get help is because if they could find themselves going into a hospital or rehab center. It's just, we need to legalize the hard narcotics, get rid of this Schedule 4 BS that we have, at least here in the United States, because the problem is only getting worse.
Right. Okay. I think it's my turn, right?
Yeah, Armin, Masad, Zach, Uncle Coping, and then Andrew.
And Andrew. Okay. So 2 points. When Andrew, you're talking about it being illegal for Russia to invade Crimea, right? So you talked about international laws, right? And you seem to be a man of principle. Like, you seem to be based on principles rather than consequences. You think that there are certain principles that we need to abide by, right? So let me show you exactly how ends and means work here. The only force in the world that could enforce any international rule of law is the US military. And the US military can do that because of the level of wealth that it managed to gather through capitalism to be able to afford such a giant army, right? And its domination over the markets, or its ability to provide security over international trade routes. Without the US military supporting the whatever international order we come up with, then the international laws are not laws, they are international suggestions that you could just ignore, right? For the world power that is the United States to continue to support the current system where we can even get to talk about international laws, it needs to benefit from it. That's just how it works. Like, there's not going to be a whole nation of people that are going to turn their country into a charity case. They're going to spend their resources, their military, their tax money to provide safety and security for global trade routes just because it's the nice thing to do without actually them benefiting something from it, right? Or like, they're going to it's a democracy, so their citizens are going to vote their politicians out if their military is constantly being used for providing security for other people's trade, for other people's access to energy, for other people's stability. So if you are actually, so this is why the ends actually justify the means. If you actually like international law and international order and some sort of a system where people have to abide by. The country that is providing the framework for this to even be possible needs to get something out of it, or else they're going to quit maintaining the world order or international law, and everybody is just going to throw different lines on, the pieces of paper they call international law at each other, and no one's going to pay attention to them, because how are you going to enforce it? With what law? Just because you wrote it on a piece of paper, that doesn't mean that we actually abide by it. It's only because of the threat of the American military that some people even take it seriously at all, right? So if America is not benefiting from it, then it's not going to work out at all. And also, when it comes to narco terrorists, I'm fine if this is not about narco terrorists. Okay. The thing is that, like, you're like, oh, why didn't they arrest this person? Why didn't they arrest that other person? Because Maduro was not just about drugs. Maduro was a menace to the whole planet. He was supporting terrorists. He's anti-imperialist, which means anti-American. He's anti the Western order. This is not just about drugs. I mean, if we could stop some drugs coming to America, that is fantastic. But if not, I don't give a shit. Maduro was the enemy of the Western order. If you need to sell removing him from power by telling people that he was basically bringing drugs to America, I don't care what excuse you are using. Just sell it in whatever way you have to. This was the enemy of the United States. This was the enemy of the Western global order, and he was a tumorous cancer that should have been removed. I don't care about the excuse. Anyways, I'm done.
Joseph, just a coincidence, but I actually used to, I still do work for them. It's a company that was created by a bunch of Narcotics Anonymous and Alcoholics Anonymous people. And they were not only just very good at their business and became very successful, but they're some of the nicest people I've ever met in my life. I don't know if it's because these are people who overcome challenge and have self-discipline or what, but seriously, some of the nicest people I ever worked with. So that's one.
So let's just move on to the next person, and maybe. But by the way, Samantha,
Yeah, I know Michael just raised his hand. So next person is Zach.
But Elad was also
Yeah.
raised his hand.
I-
All right.
All right. I just wanted to elaborate on Hila's point about the pharmaceutical manufacturer being very inefficient. And to make any given mass of pharmaceutical product, you have to, we call the concept atom economy. You have to put in a lot of chemical inputs like solvents and reagents over a bunch of steps. While there is a huge incentive on the part of process chemists to get this process as efficient as possible, it's still, relatively speaking, a large amount of input to get a small amount of output. Given that pharmaceuticals come in very small doses of milligrams or less, you're making them on a kilogram scale. Total waste is still somewhat large, but as far as industries go, it's not a large absolute contributor, while it may be relatively to the amount of physical product it's putting out.
I will just sharpen my point about this. I mean, everything is true, but maybe we can argue about it. But I mean, just think about it. There's many ways to calculate how much pollution the industry make. So different method, different areas of life will measure it differently. You need to stay awake in the country you are in to make it make sense, and not just like globally.
I'm speaking from the American pharmaceutical industry.
Okay. Is Mossad not back? Oh, God, I'm gonna message him. What happened to him? I hope Khamenei didn't get to him.
Oh no, that would be
No.
bad.
Yes.
Right.
Should check.
Well,
All right, so let's go.
Here.
Yeah,
Oh,
go.
coping.
Coping.
Yeah. I also hope Mossad didn't press the wrong button and then got a wrong beep. It was Joseph. He mentioned something about drugs, and he basically advocated for decriminalization, and I to some extent agree. So I'm not going to disagree. I'm going to just actually substantiate a little bit why I believe I do agree, because he made a good point with the prohibition. What it really does is I kind of view criminalization of drugs as a similar form of, it's sort of like censorship in a sort, because you just put it in a black hole, you don't see what happens, and so your ability to respond adequately is going to be diminished. It's very pervasive because it's not the interests that are mostly tied for those who are doing the business is fueled by social interests. So it's how people are interacting with each other. And that's where I agree with Joseph that, you can try prohibition. What do you get? You put just people underground. If they want their stuff, they're going to get it, right? So the only thing you do then when you basically, what you're doing then when you're criminalizing, you're locking them out of the market, and and let's say you're putting a punitive measure. Okay. If the argument is that you're going to punish these people for harming themselves by using drugs, how is that actually helping, right? That's kind of usually a very backwards logic that is applied frequently. And if you also prohibit them and you made them worried, right? So because they can get incarcerated, they're also going to run away. So kind of on the flip side, if you're you ask yourself this question: if you suddenly put a bunch of dispensers around on every street corner with morphine tablets and all those kind of hard drugs, would everyone all of a sudden go about and get crazy high? No, right? It's going to be maybe a spike in whatever, and then people are going to realize, oh, this is what I'm getting myself into, and then typically they will get out because they usually have a social environment that is not typically encouraging it. Of course, there is a valid argument from those who are against decriminalization that you normalize the use of drugs. But arguably, if you look at countries where it is criminalized, how is it not normalized already? From the lowest echelons of society to the highest echelons of society, right? So you're basically just sweeping a problem and just closing your eyes, and you don't want to see it. And this causes not just a problem like internally society, but like I mentioned, where are the real interests? The interests that are fueling on the various social interactions and disparities that are often occurring. Well, these are people with calculated interests, often within organized crime, but also terrorism. So just to kind of give an example exactly how powerful these can get, he mentioned the judges and police and everything like that. True. And this becomes a more noteworthy if you look at, for example, Norway. So the situation in Sweden has a very, very high crime rate. They started 2025, the first months, with a bombing attack every single month, every single day. And these were gangs mostly. It's not always terrorism, but the point is that the illicit criminal activity with drugs is concomitant with the illicit arms trade, which has radically spiked up the last 5 years. In Norway in particular, it's both in scale, scope, and advancement. So it's much closer to military grade. A lot of the things that were supposed to go to Ukraine, we are seeing popping up in Scandinavia some of the explosions that were in the beginning of 2025 in Sweden, there were Molotov cocktails and grenades of that sort, but there were also big buildings that were taken down in a single blast, car bombs of PLO style stuff. And where do they get the money from? It's a market you basically just hand it straight over to the criminals. And you think that, oh, okay, now we're going to be tough on crime and whatever. Look, in Norway, the fact of the matter is that our indigenous mafia, if you want to put it like that, they're displaced. The Swedish mafia, they have so many connections externally, internationally, with such an advanced degree of organized crime that first, not only are our organized crime units, the police and law enforcement, also in Sweden, woefully inequipped, because this is basically like dealing with internal law enforcement against a military, right? They are incredibly organized. And so they are also able to outcompete the mafia that you will find in Norway, all those other gangs, and in Sweden. So in Sweden, you have the fights. In Norway, well, we had for the last 5 years since COVID an average of 50 to 200% price rises on pretty much every single item. Notable exception, drugs. Not only did they not increase in absolute numerical sense, they actually went down, meaning that the money that was valued less, worth less, also in absolute sense went down. So drugs became
All right,
last
point.
Yeah, so that's where I'm like, this is the result of criminalization and being, but also at the same time soft on drugs. If you want to solve it, you have to actually be proactive and meet them and get them to you. Once you get them to you, and you can just say, have a registry here, you have a coupon, you get your drugs. You don't have to go through the misery you're going otherwise. There is a way to get close. So yeah, I'm sorry for the timing, but I basically, that's why I think that the decriminalization, there are avenues for that, which is perhaps worth considering.
Okay. Andrew, I think, right, Samantha?
Yeah, Andrew, Elad, Michael.
Okay.
Thank you. I wanted to talk about what Joseph said about drug use.
I wanted to say two things. One is I really recommend listening to Professor David Pasig. David Pasig is an Israeli professor and an expert on future technologies and futures in general. He talks about many of the things that we've talked about today and really about how the world's trajectories are going. And his methods are very, very scientific and amazing. And I really, really recommend him. He has a YouTube channel and he has many free lectures in English. So if you want to listen to that. And Armin, I wanted to ask if you have any news from Iran. What's happening with the internet? Thanks.
Yeah, so the internet has been slowed down. When I went on stream, my live stream on my Persian channel, a lot of people were complaining that they can't watch my live stream because it's like buffering and it's very slow, and they were cursing the government for it. I just got some videos right now from oh my god, my friend Sarah she's in London today and she's protesting for Iran, and she has a sign saying thank you Trump, and she was caught on Tusi TV. That's amazing. A lot of Iranians are now protesting around the world, trying to get the governments of Western countries to pay attention to the people of Iran. And my followers on my channel, the signs that they're holding includes a thank you Trump on it, and also Pahlavi's picture and name on it, so that they could trying to convince Trump to also pay attention to Prince Reza Pahlavi. So that is, and I can see that they're doing that. So there's a new chant. I'm actually looking at the chant, the videos that people are sending me right now. Ali just sent me something. Let me just listen to this. Okay, I'm gonna listen to this one. I'm gonna tell you guys what this is, but I'm getting updated news right all the time. Like right now as we speak, people are sending me messages from Iran in Telegram. But what I've heard last is Tehran and Mashhad seem to be like big, people are showing up really big into the cities of Tehran and Mashhad. And I don't know if you know, but Prince Reza Pahlavi put up a call out for people to come capture the streets completely in millions. So we'll see if the Iranian people are going to respond to that. But that was a big news today. Okay, so I'm going to raise my hand so I could listen to this because there apparently are
One
some new chants.
question. What
Yeah, go on.
one question. Wasn't there like a chant from Tehran to Mashhad, or is it what Bibi said a couple of months ago?
I
There was
don't
something
know.
about it.
Oh.
Okay, it's
Oh,
some poetic.
so there's a lot of chants where Iranian people say from here to here, and then they say something, and it's usually two cities in Iran. So that's a framework for a lot of the chants. Like for example, from that city to that city, we will sacrifice our lives for Iran, but it's usually like two cities far apart to just basically suggest that they're covering all of Iran, right? So, yeah, and by the way, guys, if you want to also talk more about Iran and the consequences, if like we could be as successful in Iran as we were just in Venezuela, I think the consequences of that is even bigger, much bigger than what's happening in Venezuela. So, if you guys want to talk about that as well, I would be very interested to see what your opinions are. So, raise your hands if you have any opinions or if you have any questions, because I think that's a very important
Akbar
discussion
Khamenei.
that we Mark Barkhamini, indeed. Yes. And okay, John and Gila raised their hand, so good. So who's on the
Okay.
list right now?
Michael, you, then Angela Masad if they want, are back, and then Michael and Hila. And then Sheila. So, yeah, gonna add Hila.
So, as someone with who's a Latin American background, I'd say the cartel is a double-edged sword because right in Mexico you have different factions that are really preying on small business owners, and they're extorting, killing them, and stuff like that. So, the Mexican government, I guess they're giving a blind eye towards it, and I believe because they're always under threat. The Mexican government is always under threat by the cartel because they have mass surveillance systems like cameras that they hacked in Mexico City. And so the Mexican government was scared of that. So I feel like honestly, I'm kind of in support of Trump's idea of just like bombing the shit out of the cartel or just sending Delta Force to annihilate them. Like that's my opinion. Because I have many relatives, I have relatives that, were killed, from the cartels and stuff like that. So I'm kind of in
How are they?
support of that.
Can I ask, like, how were they killed?
Pardon?
Like, why were like how did they end up? Like, were they? Do you mean like overdosed, killed, or like trying to compete with the
No, like
cartel?
like executed. So what happens is like small business owners, you have to pay like a piso, like you have to pay like a tax for operating your business. It doesn't matter
Protection
if you're
money.
involved with them or not. Yeah, protection money. Yeah. And
Jizya,
if you don't pay
jizya.
that protection money, yeah, basically, exactly that kind of thing. So if you don't pay that, they're gonna like either kill you or kidnap
Yeah,
you or
like
your family and stuff like that. So
their version of jizya.
the problem is it's gotten out of control. Yeah, exactly. And because there's several factions of the cartel,
Hey, Güerito,
like this.
could I have experienced this as well in
Yeah.
Tijuana? I'm from Tijuana, so one time when I was coming back from my wife, she's from Mexico City, and I was going to pick her up at the airport. As I was crossing the border from San Diego to Tijuana, I got a call from my brother saying that something's going on in the city. And as soon as I crossed, cars were being burnt, and they were asking people to get out of their car, and they were burning them. And there were various burned cars in the roads throughout the city. They actually blocked the road towards Rosarito, where I was gonna go that night. I ended up not going just because I didn't want to get kidnapped or I didn't want to get like my car burnt.
In a crossfire
And
or whatever.
yeah, whatever, dude. And the city was in terror for the whole night. And the cartels do this when they capture one of their capos or something like that. Like the city pays for this bad. And the Mexican government really does not have the caliber at this point to resist them as much. Like these guys are like fucking serious. They have military grade weapons, and if you look at Jalisco Nueva Generación, they look like straight up militias.
And they have drones too, like in Baja California as well, like near Tijuana.
Oh, it's
Like
insane.
the winery areas, that's where they have drones operating. That's where it's more dangerous. And I saw a video, yeah, exactly, Oscar, of the Mexican National Guard being killed by a cartel drones over there. It's really bad. It's really bad. So I feel like, I think it's not a bad idea if the US gets involved at this point.
All right.
Because the Mexican government has the capabilities. The problem is just that they're too scared and they're being somewhat financed by the cartel.
Okay, let's move. Okay, so let's move on to the next person.
Yeah.
Armin, and then
Thank you. Oh, I just have a short thing to say because I finally managed to listen to the chant. So one of the new chants that the Iranian people have just came up with is Pahlavi Shah mas, Trump tarafdar mas. So this is the new chant that is circulating in Iran now, which translates to Pahlavi is our king, Trump is our supporter. So that's what Iranian people are right now chanting in the streets of Tehran.
okay, let's move on to Gila.
I wanted to ask you if you see the movie, I don't know which day it is, that there is a car going into the motorcycle over the IRGC. There are like a bunch of motorcycles and it's like crashing them like bowling. Did you
Yeah, I
see it?
saw that.
He
Yeah, I
showed
played
it.
it on
want to
the.
see it.
Yeah, I showed it
You
on the
showed
stream.
it.
I was worried if I could show it on the stream because it's like kind of violent. I'm sure they're all okay, YouTube. Please don't strike me.
No, they have a warning before the video when they show it online. So never mind.
Okay.
I'm sorry I missed it. But now I think you
Oh, that's
need
okay.
pressure for like all the embassies around the world. You need people in the morning before they come to work to remind them of the people of Iran. When they go into office in the morning, they need to see your flag and like a bunch of you standing there carrying, okay, and then go to work like normal people, not like just jamming their offices, But every morning you need to be there with flags to remind them before work what their job is today, to free Iran. And now I see in America, like a minute after Venezuela happened, like protest, like for the people of Venezuela, for the dictator. I mean, the people of Venezuela are dancing in the street, and other people, in their name, are talking like they are sad. And the people there need to talk about you and not about this.
It shows you as the real imperialists.
But it's supposed to be a right and left cause or whatever, like of the masses, not right or left, like for everybody. I mean,
It's crazy. By the way, it's interesting because in the leftists the leftists in the United States are constantly supporting the worst of all people. I don't understand. Like they they always seem to be on the wrong side of things. It's actually pretty impressive how consistently they they support the wrong side.
We
they
can
were
develop a
already,
clock based on their dislikes. Whatever they don't like, we like.
I think the
Yeah.
signs were already made before. I mean, they were printed in the same font, and it wasn't look like handmade. There was, I mean, it was ready. That's weird. That's
Gila,
bizarre.
just out of curiosity, like, was this were they? Let me guess, was it Answer Coalition or PSL or one of these? Basically, Neville Roy Singham, who's this like Chinese fund back
It was
CCP
the
billionaire.
International Communist Association
Yeah,
of
yeah. The
whatever.
usual. There's basically like a few little rent-a-mob
So they
communists.
don't, even if it's the same group, and there are just 100 people, they don't need to get this coverage. Wherever
Agreed.
they are, I want Iranian flags over there stealing their media and telling them, hey, we are more important.
I'm okay
You
with
don't
that.
need to beat the idea. You just need to steal the cameraman, the focus away. Use it to just steal the focus. If the cameras don't come to you, you come to the cameras.
They tried to do it in Amsterdam today. I follow Iranis that are in exile, and they did something like that. They went directly to the pro-Peli demonstration and kind of overtaking them because they kept singing and they were so much more passionate. It was beautiful.
It's only matter if the media saw it. If you produced a good picture from this moment and you can send it to people that want to write about it and it could be viral, that's important. If nobody saw it, it's just a waste of energy.
All right. Who's next? Samantha?
John
Oh.
and then Marvin.
Howdy,
John.
folks. So, first off, I'm really, it's the ouster of Maduro is going to take some processing for me. I know a guy who sort of vaguely who is from the country, and I hope he's doing happy about this. This is great. This is, in my opinion, an unalloyed good, very good. But honestly, like I've been thinking a lot about Iran, and I'll say this: I'm 33, I'd say, and 13 years ago, a little more than that, I used to be one of these guys who thought, oh, maybe the JCPOA can work or something. That was I'll say it. That was wrong. That was bad. And I'm sorry about that to the Iranian people. If they're all the Iranians listening in on this, I'm sorry that I thought that. Okay, I thought that like it's
We
worse than
forgive
that
you.
actually. Oh, thanks, Arvin. I even wrote like at one point. Like, granted, I was like a 20-year-old who didn't have any understanding of the real world at the time. I was like, maybe Iran can get the bomb because they'll check each other. Like it was a lot of this like the academic. And let's be real. The academy is kind of captured in the whole far left space. A lot of it is far left space to Nyack talking points, or was at least until the past few years. A lot of this was highly theoretical, divorced from any lived reality of what Iranians are actually going through. What do I mean by this? So, like, there was this idea that a lot of people were parroting, myself included, this idea of called neo-realism by like Kenneth Waltz, and it was basically the idea that Israel and Iran are checking each other or something, and that like instability is bad, or this was the problem is none of these people were in Iranian having to live under the Islamist regime, under this filthy, filthy dictatorship of Tahrir al-Wasila, and you know, or having to deal with the fallout from their backing Assad, from backing the Shiite militias in Iraq. I just feel like I just wanted to get that out of the way. I feel like the Democrats as a whole, I say this as someone who has voted Democrat pretty consistently in the past. We need to have a come to Jesus moment on this. We need to really realize, or come to the Shah moment for all I care. We need to wake up and say, look, domestically, we make a good show of talking about liberalism and freedom. I'm not talking about the DSA. They can go into the dustbin of history with their Marxian pals. Okay, they're an anathema. Yeah. We need to really get back into hard internationalism, or kind of the idea that we want to stand up for international rights or international rule of law. Well, we have to be willing to safeguard the rights of free Iranians. We have to be willing to do that with a TOW missile, with a TOW missile launcher, or a tomahawks to Ukraine, or supporting the immortals, right? These eternal protectors, or whatever they are. When people rise up in service of who share liberal values, who don't want gays to be murdered, who don't want trans people to be to be murdered, or who, we have to be willing to put our money and our weapons where our mouth is. We can't be telling Zelensky, "Oh yeah, we can get you out of Ukraine if things go topsy turvy." That what This is the problem I see a lot, where like some Democrats are like, "Oh, we support Ukraine." Ukraine was the one that stood and fought. We gave them the weapon, the means. They did that independent of us. Return. So just one final thing too. It's like, oh well, people don't like us. I just got back from Kosovo. Okay, let me tell you something. People in Kosovo, they flippin' love us. They will just unpromptedly be like, thank you so much for what you did in 1999. They have statues to Bob Dole and Bill Clinton. In Albania, they even have a statue to George W. Bush. I feel the so-called rage against the quote unquote neocons, which was always kind of like a hit, had an anti-Semitic whiff to it. All right, really has to be thrown in the garbage, set on fire, and not thought of ever again, because that kind of crap got us all these weird Carlsonite neo-Nazi crap. It's a cancer. It's an absolute cancer, and it's got to stop. No, I am so tired of this. And you know what? If that means we have to rehabilitate Bill Clinton for his foreign policy, so be it. Because, like, in my opinion, Obama's foreign policy
All right, last
contributed
point.
too much harm to this. So just to conclude, I do think I really want a free Iran to reach out to Kosovo, because it's and Albania, because it's a country that has lots of ex-Muslims, lots of liberal Muslims, lots of different kinds of
Uh,
people. There's a lot of pluralism. There's a lot of hope, and I think
uh,
it stands in opposition to this to Turkey, where Islamism under Erdogan has led to the deterioration of politics there. That's all
all
for
right,
now. Javed Shah.
awesome. Okay, Javid Shah and Amazrael Khai. And, by the way, guys, raise your hand if you want to speak as well. But I just had to. I think it's my turn, right, Samantha?
Yeah.
Yes. Just had 2 points. First of all, regarding Gila saying that we need to come up with effective ways to get seen and send out our message. The tweet that I got from Iran, like here's what I try to do. I ask Iranian people send me videos of themselves saying thank you Trump, and also the support Prince Reza Pahlavi at the same time from inside Iran, and then I tweet them. And I just posted one just a few hours ago, and right now it has already 931 retweets, 3,400 likes. So I'm just going to post a link in the chat. I think this is a very effective way of getting seen, right? So
What's the
this is
hashtag?
this video. I use no hashtag. I think when you don't use hashtag, people see it as more authentic for some reason, less markety, less salesy, right? This video was sent directly. I asked the people on my Persian show to send me videos on Telegram, and I give them instructions on what to do, and then I posted on Twitter. And look, this one just went. This one got a pretty decent amount of views. Look at this, and she's speaking in Persian, and this is what she's saying in the video. She's saying, from Iran, I say that our representative is Crown Prince Reza Pahlavi. I thank Mr. Trump and Mr. Netanyahu for their support of Iranian people. We, the people of Iran, love all the people of the world, especially the people of America and Israel, and we simply want to live in peace, tranquility, and freedom. Yeah.
You want me to spread it in Israel Twitter?
Yeah. Can you guys retweet this and can you get other people to retweet this, because this one is doing well? Like, I posted a link.
Yeah. We can tag
Yeah.
maybe like radio show that we listen to or news that we read. And
Yeah.
so like if we will set a time and we will set a specific time, it will be more accurate for us. The minute we all share it in the same time. So for example, if we want tonight at 12 o'clock or 12:05, we all posted it. So if it's 5-10 people not from the same
No,
geographic,
I don't want different people posting. I think I want more people to just retweet this one or quote tweet one. Like, I think it should be focused on one post, because then when people see the number of retweets on one post, they take it more seriously instead of like different people posting different things.
So for me to tag news outlets in the same time as other Israelis.
So you could quote tweet that one and then write whatever.
No,
Yeah.
I'm not that good in this application actually. So maybe someone that more understand the nuance of the Twitter than me. But I mean,
Okay.
just the point is that if we do it in the same time, doesn't matter what click, the click will get more echoes, right? And we can be like,
no,
it's
not
better.
necessarily. I think all you have to do is send this link that I'm putting in the chat to the people who you think should see it. That's all. Just send that link to the people who need to see it. Yeah. Because that would be, yeah, exactly. Like, if you overcomplicate it, then people are not going to do it. Another point I wanted to make about something that John said is regarding international law. It's interesting because a lot of people on the left and on the right, like Nick Fuentes and Candace Owens and Tucker Carlson, they're becoming isolationist. But there's a level of hypocrisy for people on the left because they keep talking about international law and they want America to be less involved in the world. Like, how does, like, do they think international law, how does it work? Is it like magic? Like, do they think that you just write it on a piece of paper and the whole world is like, oh, okay, we're gonna, like, how are you going to remove American military might from the world and also want the world to abide by international law? That, I think that is a contradiction.
Because
Like,
they believe
who's,
America is the #1 violator of international law.
but there will be no international law without America. It doesn't
And they
exist.
just bitch and moan with the UN. They'll go to the UN and be like, "Oh, there's these articles that we have to follow, or you have to follow, or you violated," but they never really get enforced.
If America didn't violate international law, we wouldn't have to fight America to not violate because America wouldn't be violating. So then anyone else who's violating international law would be weaker than China and Russia because China and Russia are the next strongest country. So China and Russia could enforce the law.
Which international law has America violated? Which one you're talking about?
Well, supposedly, so Claudia Sheinbaum is referencing, I think it's Article 21 of the UN Convention, because supposedly what they did with Maduro was like an act of war or whatnot.
The international law has a lot of loopholes, okay? And it's all up for interpretation, right? But the thing is that it all comes down to might. And for everybody else, they have to talk about American might, and America basically decides what international law is because America is the enforcer of international law. And for America, if America is violating international law, then America could decide, because it's the main enforcer of international law, it could decide that is not international. I mean, the UN wouldn't exist if United States decides that the United Nations shouldn't exist. If all the funding from the United Nations comes from America, so people are going complaining to United Nations against the funder. And by the way, the United Nations is the same institution that has had more resolutions against Israel than on one side compared to the Islamic Republic, North Korea, China, and Russia combined. They got less resolutions against them compared to Israel. So, and I think, like, given that the main backer of United Nations is the United States, and the United Nations has turned into an anti-Israeli institution, America, as the main ally of Israel, should basically like, what the fuck is wrong with you guys? Like, you guys are funded by me, and you're attacking my ally. So maybe I should
You
like
know,
just pull the plug on you guys, right?
you know what would be a
Well,
quid for quo move?
Mhm.
the
If
Yeah.
the
idea is to
United
Go on.
overthrow America.
States,
One at a time. Michael, you go on. Then Samantha.
so what would be very interesting is if Russia ever lost the war with Ukraine, what would be kind of funny is if basically after the Putin regime falls, if they would join NATO or Europe, and then the US could have more military bases near the Russia and China border. That would be a quid pro quo move, actually.
Okay. And Samantha, you were saying something?
Well, the idea is to overthrow the current American system. And
Yeah.
then
Well, yeah, and you don't support
we'll
that, do you? Oh, sorry, I shouldn't ask that question, huh? Okay, no, go ahead. Just tell me what they think.
they wanna overthrow the current American system, okay? Like
Right.
institute a communist system,
Right.
and then new communist system won't violate international laws, and like new communist system along with China would be strong enough to like, enforce world order. So it's like they kind
Yeah.
of want
Okay.
America after communist revolution, but they don't want pre-communist America.
Okay, that's what they.
So until we have a communist revolution, they want to keep America from acting too international. If they can keep America from acting too international, then China should be able to manage and be strong enough to manage everyone else because China's stronger than pretty much everyone besides America.
Right. And they don't acknowledge the fact that China is one of the most capitalist countries in the world. They don't even acknowledge that.
Everyone believes China is like a communist utopia.
Okay. And they don't talk about the fact that it actually has free markets and free trade
I had
and a stock
no idea it
market.
had free market. That felt like the most mind-blowing thing you have ever said to me.
Oh, okay.
But
I mean, the Shanghai stock market is like the Shanghai is trying to compete with Singapore with becoming the financial capital of the Far East.
they also don't talk about how China keeps violating other countries' sovereignties. I mean, they've taken parts of India, they've reached to islands of Japan, and they're basically creating a new sea empire. And no one talks about how China is violating the world's order, but everything is about America. Everything is about the British Empire that has died decades ago. I mean, seriously, it's
Yeah, I mean, go ask the Vietnamese about Chinese violence. Go ask the Filipinos and the Vietnamese and the Indonesians and the Japanese regarding China violating international order. They're basically they're taking over their, you know, what is it called, like they're violating the border integrity. They're claiming a whole bunch of areas in the sea that belongs to Vietnam, Philippines, and these other countries, and China is just coming and taking over. And America hasn't done that. America hasn't actually gone and violated other countries' border integrity, which is actually the most violation of international law.
Hey, Armin,
Yeah.
one interesting thing that I view is Russia, China's making a smart move. They're basically milking the shit out of Russia. And if it keeps getting weaker over time, China is gonna do like border incursions within the Russian Federation and be like, hey, you're in our list too. Yeah, we want Siberia or this part of Siberia that you took away from us.
Yep. Oh, by the way, other people are waiting. I can't wait
Yeah, I
for
mean,
that
I've
to
only
happen.
heard things like China's protecting its border and it's protecting territory that rightfully belongs to China.
Against Vietnam and the Philippines?
they don't. They actually took regions of India where there is water because they are keep drying out their resources.
They even took
Because
Tibet.
what?
I mean, calling Vietnam and the Philippines part of the world
China took
imperial,
Tibet
like Western imperial
as well.
order, is kind of
Well,
laughable. Like, it's yeah.
they're kind of being held by like the US empire.
No, the Chinese empire is trying to take over East Asia and basically the entire world. That
Yes,
that
and
is what
they're
is
pushing.
happening right
They're
now.
pu-
They literally took islands from Japan.
yeah, and they're pushing these countries towards America because they're like, help us. We have this guy's bullying us, and they're pushing them towards America
Right.
because they're dealing with China. They're being bullied by China, so they need American help. All right, so we should go to Michael. Did you say okay? Yeah, we should go to Cat Lady and Uncle Coping, right?
Yeah, that
All
is.
right.
I have one question and also one proclamation. I want to announce that I think the US is practically using as the Jews of the world countries, besides the Jews, which is Israel. You can blame America for everything, and most people will believe it.
So you're saying after Israel, America is the number 2 scapegoat of the world.
I guess,
That's what you're saying.
yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank
okay,
you.
okay.
And second, I have a question for anyone who ever knows that since Maduro is being arrested and his wife, under what charge is it? What is he arrested for officially?
That's a
I've
good
heard
mean,
question. I don't know.
go ahead, John.
I heard that it was that he's like leader of this cartel called the Cartel de
Tren del
los
Agua, Cartel
yeah,
de los Soles.
yeah, Cartel de los
How
Soles.
about supporting Hamas? So Hezbollah, like supporting terrorism around the world. This should be on the list.
Also, all the collectivos he backed that were like killing people during like I think 2017 onward. Yeah, there's a lot. There's a
Oh,
lot
the
of
militias, the
there's
chavistas.
That's a good question, Cat Lady. But I think we're going to be able to see all of that in real time because they're going to the court. The court is going to be in America. I hope they broadcast it live. That would be really good for live streaming. Imagine
Armin,
if
but
Trump
that
I
will
feel like
happens.
say he was arrested like a dog.
this is only the
Oh,
beginning because what's it called? You have Delcy Rodriguez, that fucking lady. She's the successor of Nicolas Maduro. She's the worst. I hope that lady
wow.
gets killed.
Yeah. My God, that would be a show. That would be a good show, huh? Going live when the Maduro is, trying to defend himself, like standing there. Oh my God, that would be a good show. Love to see that. All right.
I'm not sure where he's going to be tried since he's not subject to American laws, right? He's not any sort of American resident.
I don't think that matters. I think they're gonna. I don't think that matters.
Like, I don't think America has the right to arrest people in, let's say, the United Kingdom, even if it's for something like murder, right? You can extradite if you have treaties, but it's hard to see what would apply in this case. Also, sorry, but it's been 3 minutes. I went over time myself.
Yeah. Oh, that's okay. Don't worry about it. Let's go
Well,
to.
how would you explain Europe, Interpol and Europol on this arrest?
Yeah, exactly.
issue?
I'm pretty sure they have their own category for that.
I guess it can be tried by those guys.
I think they have like, don't they have martial law, like some sort of military court or something for stuff like this?
Mossad has special permission. It's called not acknowledging anything. So
I'm pretty sure they have military courts for stuff like this. So I think they're going to be fine. But yeah, I'm coping. He's been waiting for a long time to speak.
Oh, I thought it was someone else before the list, but I'll try to be quick. Let me turn off the fan here. International law is by definition a contradiction, because if you think about what is law, national law, that's sovereign law, right? So that means that I am the one who rule, I am the one who sets it, right? And so when you have international law, this is not only a contradiction by definition, but that contradiction is why we do not have a global police. No national sovereign is ever going to be accepting that they're going to have another law that is sovereign above them again. So that, you
Right.
might overcome it, right? You might overcome it, but until that time happens, just expect yourself to be continuously disappointed if you think that international law is anything more than, I think Armin said, it's a suggestion. It's a meeting place in the world of politics. There's so much complication. It's not just simply, I'm going to come together and shake hands with you. I have to get together and let's have a memorandum of understanding. Let's sign a letter of intent. The UN is a place where you can buffer the maybe excessively fast moves. However, as we have seen, of course, it can be heavily politicized. So I didn't mean to spend so much time on international law, but as for Russia and NATO, Russia actually applied for NATO at some point, but they were rejected. And one can say like, oh, that's their domestic policies and so forth, which, there might be some merit to it. The main reason why Russia can't join NATO is precisely because Russia's geographic position and its size and like it's a natural regional hegemon. So as soon as you remove that barrier of animosity, basically, like if you join Russia with NATO, then Europe will naturally gravitate towards Russia and out of the sphere of the United States. So the Russia would have to be fundamentally different in a manner that the United States consider it very good. And you see this now, right? The NATO part is Trump made it very clear. If you connect that pipeline, and I know it was Biden that said it, you connect that pipeline and something's going to happen, and voila, Nord Stream happened. So the part with Russia might be if the United States somehow managed to get so I think Joseph was mentioning about Russia and oil. It's kind of the other way around. Like if you take out Venezuela and Iran, then Trump only needs to make a deal with Putin, and that's going to be a gut punch into the Chinese, who needs to import Russian oil. Right, so it's kind of that way around. Even the protesters in Iran, I saw comments that were saying like, if they want the Shah, they deserve all the hell that's coming for them, from people who are not even living in Iran. But that's just they despise the United States. So yeah, I hope I didn't spend too much time, but that was my 3 points. So thank you.
That was